Well, hey everybody, welcome to Spring Thunder. We're down here in Florida. And
it's been tough.
It's been
opening weekend, and it's been a beatdown so far.
The first 2 days have been pretty tough. We've heard some gobbles, just been kind of slow.
Right, and because the hurricane last year, they actually think the turkey population's down. But we're going to actually be bringing everybody up to speed on this Florida trip this week on the live video blogs. But last week I had a chance to go over and visit in Alabama with Mr. John, the forester, to talk about what's topic is pretty big in turkey hunting.
Some burning.
For control burning.
That's right.
So, which is, not only good just for turkeys, but the habitat
That's
in
right.
general.
Very educational. I mean, it's something you have to do. We did on the farm.
Right, exactly. And I thought I knew a little bit about it until I met with this man. This guy, he knows his stuff.
He seems like he knows it all.
Holy cow.
Realtree's Spring Thunder is brought to you by Chevy Silverado, Lacrosse Footwear, Otterbox, Banded Decoys, Onyx Mapping, Bog Pod, Hunter Specialties, Remington Arms, Heavy Shot, Spartan Camera, Old Tom, and Realtree Edge. Hunt with an edge.
All right, this is an oversimplification. Normally we have nice maps, aerial photos for everybody that's burning, but this is just a general representation of this particular area that we're looking at. It's about 500 acres. So we're down here on this southeast side, and the day that we burned on the 16th, the wind was somewhat out of the south-southwest. So what you do, you always orient it to north. The wind's out of the southwest, means your smoke and your fire is trying to go the opposite direction. It's trying to go to the northeast. So we wanted to start on this east side. We have private land over here. So we start right in here and we want to secure this side. So that morning we started setting fire right on this property line, heading north, patrolling behind us, and letting this thing get back 20 or 30 feet wide. And once the fire backs off, because as the fire's backing, remember the wind's trying to make it jump over the line. So this line is really smoky. But once it gets back 20, 30 feet, where you've got this good black, now that line's pretty safe. Now you can start to take fire across the north or do some interior lighting, and you still always come back and patrol your line. Once you burn it out, you don't ignore it because it could still get across. So we use ATVs and on foot. So you're always patrolling the perimeter of your lines, whether it's a fire line, a road, or a creek, but you always start on the downwind side.
This week on Spring Thunder, in case you were wondering, we're going to be talking about prescribed burning. And you're, Mr. John, you're a registered forester.
Yes.
So you know this front and back. You can do this in your sleep pretty much.
Well, you never stop learning, but I've been doing this about 40 years.
Wow. And like you said, then this is where y'all started on this. Y'all cut this fire break because of private property.
Yes, we had a young pine stand here plus private property. That's why the bulldozer, we built this line and we burned this side. We didn't want fire on this side. Obviously, you can tell we were successful, but that's because we employed this same tactic looking at this line. We took fire up that way and the smoke was pushing across the line, so we had to watch this for a long time. But once it got back 20 or 30 feet, the chance of a spot was pretty low. Then we could start working back to the west to finish off that 500 acre block.
This is just one scenario, so you're going to take us through different on this tract of land, different scenarios that y'all have already burnt, and
yes,
some stuff y'all haven't burnt the way y'all rotate.
That's right.
Well, I know I'm going to learn a lot. I can already tell that just by this little diagram here. So when did y'all burn this? You want to show us different levels or different ages of a burn y'all done this year and going all right. About the last couple of years?
Matter of fact, as you pan here, we did this burn February the 16th, and wow. Which hadn't been, 10 days ago. And we start early. Actually, Nathan was out with this burn group, and so they brief and they showed people where the lines are. You set your test fire. So you always want to start early. You don't want to come out here at 11 o'clock when it's going good. So you get your lines safened up, you explain what's going on. This particular field was probably burned about 1 in the afternoon, kind of the peak of the day. And we had a nice strong wind out of the south, so it was pushing that ways to the north. So this field was growed up and it needed wind to push it through. And as you can tell, you can tell it burned pretty clean, but this probably had a 20-foot length of flame going through you wouldn't want to have been standing in there.
So
And
this is just a big briar patch, pretty much.
this is a fallow field that we maintain as a field for various habitats for deer, turkey, and other things. And we normally maintain it with fire. You could do it with a bush hog. You could disc it. Fire's much easier. Fire's very natural. Dragging a disc and a hair, that's one way of doing it to get the same effect. The fire's much less expensive, and it's more natural than dragging a disc or spraying herbicides or mowing. And so we just choose to use fire. And in 10 days, you can already see a lot of stuff is greening up. So a lot of times the uninformed sees a fire that has burned an area, and they say, oh, isn't that terrible? It's lost, it's gone forever. It's like, oh no, it's going to green right up.
It's just getting started when you get it burned.
There's always winners and losers. Here you got a lot of blackberry, and it all appears to be dead, but if you notice at the base, it's all coming back. Now, blackberries are great, not for people that'll tear you up walking through it, but we all like blackberries, particularly turkey. They love soft mass. A lot of things like fruiting species. So all of this blackberry that was kind of rank and old, now it's been top killed, and it'll grow back 2 or 3 feet, and you'll probably have a really good crop of blackberries about July this year. So the animals will know that, and so they'll know, hey, I'm coming back here about July, because I feel like, you know, some good soft mass. The grasses, the weeds, the other habitat that's going to grow plant material and insects for turkeys, it's already on its way back. So what appears to be death and destruction is not. All of these plants have adaptations to fire. It top killed everything above ground, but the roots are protected under the soil, and that's its adaptation. Hey, if I get top killed with fire, I'm going to sprout from the root.
Right.
So they've adapted with fire. So nature kind of got it figured out.
So in a sense, is the burning like this is a sense to like a fertilizer, kind of like you said, hitting a reset button and fertilizing it and getting it. Now everything's going to come up even stronger and better.
Absolutely. There was, and I'm just estimating, but there was probably 4 or 5 tons per acre of cured vegetation, dead grasses, etc., that are no longer here. Well, some of that got chunked up in the air in the form of nitrogen, but mainly fire is just a rapid oxidation. You know, a car's going to rust. It might take it 100 years, but it's going to oxidize and rust and go back to where it came from, the dirt. Well, vegetation's the same way. This is rapid oxidation. We put all of those nutrients right back into the soil, so now these plants can take it up. That's why they grow back so quickly. You got this fertilizer effect. Now, granted, some nitrogen and other trace elements get volatilized through the smoke into the air, but when it rains, guess what? All that nitrogen that's in the air gets put right back into the soil. So it's a very natural process, and you're just taking advantage. Again, you could disc this up and come out and artificially put out fertilizers and chemicals to get the plants that you want. But if you just apply fire at the right time of the year, you kind of, and it's natural, so you're getting that same effect, and you're making it do what you want, only you're using a natural process.
Wow, I've never looked at it to that extent. Obviously, this here is a little different scenario. So when did y'all light this one up?
All right, real quick, we'll back up. This stand was a sparse natural stand, and so we clear cut it in 2004. And then we came in and we didn't even do site prep. Normally in forestry, you cut the timber, you apply herbicides to control the competition, burn it off, plant trees, and get a new stand. So this one, we clear cut it, and then we just burned it. So we just let the fire crawl through this stand. And this is a pretty big stand. It's 120 acres. It's really long east to west, but it's not more than maybe 1,000 feet wide.
And you like you were saying the slow burn because you get more of a true burn throughout at night.
Yeah.
Conditions are better just because you like a slow burn better than just running a quick fire.
Yeah, on a young stand, you want to really slow it down. So a backing fire, the rate of spread is very slow. The length of the flame is very low, so it's just a very slow, easy fire. It can't stand up and run on you, get up in the trees. So that first burn was like that. Then we burned it pretty much annually. There might have been 1 or 2 years that it rested. So this has probably been burned 10 or 11 times out of the last 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Now, when you look, even though, again, we burned this February the 16th, when you kick back, there's the soil. So the depth of the litter, there's still enough material that's protecting the soil. If you burnt this straight to the soil, just say it was so dry it consumed every consumable bit of fuel, then raindrops, you could get more erosion because now you have unprotected soil. So even though
you don't want that.
No, you want some cover. So this burned really clean. You can tell there's still like less than 1/3 of an inch of litter, but enough to protect it. So the fertility is in all of that rotten duff, protected the soil, but yet we got a good burn to where now if you had a fire on another day, there's nothing to burn. So this is like asbestos now for a year. But now that you look, you see grasses coming back.
Right.
And why is that? Well, we reduced the mulching effect of this litter by frequent fire. The weeds that are in this soil, just like that fallow field, now there's nothing to suppress it, so they can pop up. Now there's not a lot of sunlight, so it's not going to grow back very high, but there's enough plant material. A deer, a turkey can come out here and literally browse on those 10-day-old succulent shoots, get a little bit of a benefit. They can see, so they still have cover, but if something was coming, they could easily see. I mean, a turkey, you can see 75, 80 yards pretty easy.
So versus if it wasn't burnt, like you said, now you got browse, you know, and it's still not wide open. But
so there's a little unburned spot that's probably not even 1/100th of an acre, but it's a nice little spot if something wanted to nest. There's some nesting material right there. And they could feel pretty safe about nesting because they could see what's coming. So until you thin the stand to really improve the habitat conditions, frequent fire, this is still pretty good because you're getting some response of plant material, and you've also reduced the potential of having, you know, dangerous fuel accumulation.
And even on a different note, like this hillside, all this cover, you know, going back to the old theory that, you know, a fire wipes out everything, that's like, we were walking in here, you were saying that's perfect for quail and turkeys, nesting, even for deer for cover.
Yeah.
It didn't, that slow burn didn't just annihilate it where it's still there.
Even this little wax myrtle, which it didn't completely kill it, but just say it top killed it, it's got the roots. So its adaptation to fire is just, I'm going to sprout back.
Right.
Well, this thing, if it was dead, it would come back just as strong. It'd grow back 3 or 4 feet, so you hadn't lost anything.
Right.
So even if you top kill some of this vegetation, it's going to sprout and it's going to be right back where it was. And if it did top kill it, now you have some succulent, you know, browse that's not, you know, if a deer was chewing on that limb, that'd be kind of tough. But on a sprout that's tender and succulent, it's just more palatable. So again, you know, it's to each their own, but just prescriptively to say fire and hardwoods don't belong, that's really not true.
Well, Mr. John, what I thought I knew about burning, prescribed burning, I know nothing. Now I do, but coming into this, what I thought I knew is, I'm telling you, you blew my hat off with all the knowledge that you know. I mean, it's amazing really how much science goes into all this. And that's, I think, important that people to know so it doesn't get out of hand, like bad scenario you said people have had.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, but it can get very technical, but it takes a lot of years of experience and learning. You want to be a sponge, always ask questions, never be afraid to ask, always be observant. And just get training, and then every burn is different, but you'll learn something. I'm still learning. I've been doing this 40 years, and so you want to have a good respect. It's nothing to be feared, it's to be respected, but you want to be confident. So again, until you get your confidence up through training and experience, be a sponge, ask questions, and be conservative. It's not how much you get burned, it's how safe you burn. And so your first few times, you want to just pick an area where you couldn't screw up if you tried, so to speak. Bomb-proof boundaries, start early. You have all these other tactics that you can do to kind of minimize your risk of an escape. For
somebody that was wanting to do this or get involved, is contact their local forester, I guess, is the best thing they could do to people like yourself to kind of hold their hand, for say, and talk to them and make them understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of different groups that can do this. Some state agencies will do this work. They're often pretty busy with just doing protection on state-owned land, but they are an avenue. Consultant foresters are your best bet because that's what they do. They're there to service and take care of their clients and whatever needs to be done, whether it's harvesting timber, tree planting, or prescribed burning. So consultant foresters are really a good start for a landowner within that county.
Thank you again for your time.
Yes, sir.
I learned a lot.
You are more than welcome.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate y'all tuning in for Spring Thunder. Good educational piece on controlled burning. I think it's really important for a lot of people to know that. And to end it, we're going to go with Rhett's hunt.
Yeah, well, it was actually in a big burn, a big field. So it was a great hunt from about 5 years ago, right, not far from here.
Cool. Let's go check it out.
Come on, boys.
Huh?
I think I need to lay down.
I think I need to get in the ditch.
That's your boy on the right. Listen how far away they sound now. The one on the left is getting bigger. They both got
Kill him. Left. Kill him.
those guys.
Wow. First off, solo, baby. I told you it was good down here. He was no doubt the dominant turkey, though.
What time is it?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
March 1st.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. That is awesome.